thank you very much, and welcome to today's philological encounter between our teams, Dilys, Powell and Frank Muir, and Antonia, Fraser and Denis Norden. And we start, as usual, with our hunt through the dictionary in search of meaning. Frank, what's the meaning of jejune?
Jejune. It's French for I am curious yellow. And it's one of those words that has no equivalent in English, isn't it? It's sort of barren, flat, unproductive, boring,
mentally unsatisfying. Yes, let's give you 2 marks. So I think that's. It really means jejune, doesn't it? And very, as you say,
yes, of course it does. What does that mean?
Antonia, simile.
Oh, now simile, I think, was, if not introduced by the papacy, the papacy was apt to indulge, apt to sim.
Or the papacy's agents.
Yes, the papacy's agents, as you so aptly put it. I was just taking a shortcut. Were apt to sim, which was also a sin. And is it selling offices for money?
Selling ecclesiastical offices.
Well, naturally, they were the popes. Come on.
Otherwise, they'd be property developers.
I think full marks there to Antonia. Dilys, persiflage.
Persiflage? That's what some of us, not me, engage in this programme. Sort of light and amiable joking and jesting.
Yes, indeed. Light banter, or raillery, another word that I've read more often than used. Denis, scrannel.
Scrannel. That's what others of us engage in on this programme. It's kind of screwed up flannel.
Scrannel pipes, isn't it?
Oh, that's, yes.
There's some quotation.
That's right, the scrannel pipes. Playing on the scrannel pipe, yes. It's a kind of shepherd thing.
Yeah, well, it is a kind of... It was Milton, wasn't it? Who talked about... And he changed the meaning, apparently. It's a rather nasty noise. Feeble, reedy, weak. Rather like my singing voice, in fact. Scrannel. But anyway, full marks for Denis. Now, here's where I give you the quotations. In fact, they're song titles again this week that Frank and Denis are going to give us the true origin of later in the programme. Frank's is Rule Britannia, which we thought was first heard at the last night at the proms, but Frank is going to tell us where it really comes from. And Denis, Come into the Garden, Maud. Poem by Tennyson then became a chart-topping Victorian ballad. And Denis and Frank are later going to give us the true origins of both those titles. Let's go on to something, I was going to say something nice and easy, but it could be slightly more difficult. One of the most... I can't have a most useless thing, but one of the useless things that I had when I was a child was a dictionary of first lines. Did anybody ever come across it? It was useless until this moment, because what I'm going to do is to give you the second line of verse, and I want to know what well-known first line that would have been in my dictionary comes before it. Frank, the second line is, For God hath made them so.
Oh, yes. It's a poem, which has an extremely well-known first line, which I don't know.
Would knowing the author help you?
For God, yes.
He also wrote, O God, our help in ages past.
It was him Watts.
Yes,
Isaac Watts.
Yes.
Yeah. Wrote everything that we sing. We used to sing.
Little Busy Bee he wrote about as well, didn't he?
How doth the little BBC improve each shining hour? Isaac Watts, early 18th century, turn of the century.
Let dogs delight to bark and bite is the first line. Antonia.
Be a good name for pet food, wouldn't it? Dogs delight.
Antonia, the second and third lines are, No sleep till morn when youth and pleasure meet to chase the glowing hours with flying feet.
So the first line would have I mean, I'm not asking for a hint or a clue, but it would have sort of how many beats in it? Perhaps I could have...
Well, it's a Spenserian stanza we're talking about.
So can you just give me those second and
The
third
second
again?
line is, no sleep till morn when youth and pleasure meet to chase the glowing hours with flying feet.
Is it about dance? Is this
Yes.
the first line got the word dance?
Yes, it has. That's what
Celebrated quotation with the word dance. On with the dance.
Exactly. Let joy be unconfined.
Oh, yes. I didn't know about the bit about let joy be unconfined, but of course.
Yes, we doctors always remember the line about let joy be unconfined.
That's the sort of thing we're trying to stamp into this programme.
Byron's Childe Harold. Actually, the thing I remember, do you know what Byron's dad's occupation was? This takes me back to the age of 16, and I looked him up in the Concise Dictionary of Ing-Lit, and it said that Byron, son of Captain John Byron, a profligate, it said. And at the age of 16, it was a career that had a certain appeal to me. Dilys. The second line is, the labour and the wounds are vain.
Say not.
Yes.
Say not. I forget what he was not to say. Say not. Say not the struggle. The struggle.
That's right.
Naught availeth.
Perfect. Almost. Dennis, the second line is, that gives it all its flavour.
It's the little perforations at the bottom.
I think you get a mark there for...
I don't know. It
Mischievous.
sounds like a commercial. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Gives it all its flavour. Is it that doggerel sounding sort of? It's the ta-da-ta-da-ta.
No.
That gives it all its flavour. That's the
No,
thing.
it's not. I can't give you the rhythm,
Right.
but I can give you a clue, which is, can you think about the signature tune that you used to introduce when you were a lad, a program called Music Hall?
Spice of Life.
That's right.
Oh, is it Variety is the spice of life?
Yeah, well,
That's a good clue.
yeah. Variety is the very spice of
Is the
life.
very
is the first
spice
line.
of life.
Now we come to a rather nasty moment for the sensitive souls that are gathered around me, because this is a round of malicious criticism. And I'd like to know, well, first we'll start with Frank. This is about a stage play. And I'd like to know what play this was written about and who wrote it. It is for the most part stagey trash of the lowest melodramatic order.
It's
In
George
parts-
Bernard Shaw and Cymbeline.
That's right. Well done.
Also, it's a very well-known piece of critical invective. He's rather funny, actually, Shaw, because what he loathed about Cymbeline was its political naivety, which indeed it was, politically naive. And it ends up with, when I compare my brain to Shakespeare's.
Oh dear. Antonia, this comes from Blackwood's magazine. And who is it written about? A young man has lately died, having written 2 or 3 little books of verses.
Keats.
Yes.
Keats. Back to your, what is it? Back to your pills, your chemist shop,
Yeah.
your potions,
Yes.
Mr. Keats.
Yes. I thought you were all such nice people, you wouldn't know about the malicious criticisms. I was quite wrong, completely misread you. Dilys, of whom was it written and by whom? He comes with his enchantments, sets the world in love with dreams and phantoms, and with the silliness and the sham chivalries of a brainless society. He does more real and lasting harm, perhaps, than any other individual that ever wrote.
No.
It's Mark Twain.
It is Mark Twain.
It's Mark Twain, and who was he on? He's somebody. I don't agree with the criticism. Was it Fielding?
No.
Scott, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
It was of Sir Walter Scott by Twain. Couldn't do the accent, I'm afraid. At least I could have had a go, but obviously didn't need to. Dennis, this comes from the Field and Stream, which I gather is an everyday magazine of country folk. And it was a criticism, well, it was alleged to be a criticism of a novel. And here it is. It is of considerable interest to outdoor-minded readers, as it contains many passages on the chores and duties of a professional gamekeeper.
Yes, well, I owe my knowledge of this to a bit of bedside reading I've had at my bed table now. It's called the Frank Muir book, which I do heartily recommend to students, to serious students of English. It's actually, I think, rather unfairly used here, because the man meant it rather tongue-in-cheek. It's about Lady Chatterley's lover.
Yes,
yeah?
yes. I thought you were going to say it was about the Frank Muir book.
No.
It is...
well, that's good for Field and Stream, actually. If you can't get across it, make very good stepping stones.
It is an American quotation, and it's ironic, by a chap called Ed Zern, and you constantly find it being anthologized as a stupid, silly American review of somebody who didn't know what they...
But never as well anthologized as in the Frank Muir book.
I suppose so.
It's terribly dangerous, Irene, isn't it? Because I thought it showed through, though, and I didn't read out the next bit because I thought it made it too obvious. But it goes on. Unfortunately, one is obliged, or maybe that should be obliged, to wade through many pages of extraneous material in order to discover sidelights on the management of a Midland shooting estate.
It never came up in the trial, did it?
Let's move on to a quick round. Who coined these words? Frank, who was the first to use the word pandemonium?
Paradise Lost, Milton.
Yes. Yes? Do you know what he used it as to describe?
It was the capital city of hell.
I think 2 bonus marks there. 2 marks plus bonus marks. Antonia, centrifugal, or centrifugal, as some scientists call it.
Who first used it?
Hmm.
Oh, do you know it?
No, it's not.
Jules Verne?
No, way beyond... a distinguished scientist in his time.
Oh, Newton.
Yes, indeed. Newton. Selling the poor chap short I was. Dilys, Blatant.
Ah. Somewhere in a poet. There's a blatant beast somewhere.
That's it.
Interesting. Yes, you know that thing.
He was big on beasts, this poet.
Spencer.
Spencer, in The Fairy Queen. Denis, Assassination.
I can't think of anything but assassination. But it was to do with a sect, wasn't it? The assassins were to do with eating hashish.
Oh, no, but before that.
Before that? I don't know.
It's in a play.
Well,
it's not the sort of. It's not a very good thing to drag this play into this particular.
Oh, is it Macbeth?
Building.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I don't know it. Though. I don't know
it's in Macbeth. If the assassination could trammel up the consequence and catch with his surcease success. Bizarre apposition of words there. Now we come to the moment where Frank and Denis are going to give us the true origins and oft-forgotten origins of those song titles I gave you earlier in the programme. And Frank, yours is Rule Britannia.
I don't know whether you know Tanya Bush-Lockhart. Do you know? She used to be my secretary, and she's an absolutely super girl, very good secretary. Her mind was way ahead of mine. When I was dictating to her and paused to find the mot juste, she used to say, "Is that a pimple you've got coming up on your nose?" And it was totally with the job. And Tanya got married, and she had a baby, Jamie, and last summer, Polly and I were invited to the christening party. And I said, well, what do we take them? We've got to take them something. And Tanya always does everything so beautifully. I mean, we can't take a chocolate mince because the party's at 7 o'clock and it's too early. Or we could... and you can't take her flowers. And Polly said, well, look, get her a piece of decent cheese. So I remember a shop in Edinburgh, just off George Street. So I got the shuttle up to Edinburgh and got a room in New Club, and the following morning went to find this shop which saw this marvellous cheese just off George Street. Not a bit of it. The whole cheese position has changed, has it not? I mean, camembert is no longer camembert. If you cut through it, it's like cutting through a wax candle. And a brie, it's got a creep, hasn't it? You know how to test a brie? You put your thumb into the centre, and you put your thumb onto your right eyeball. And if the consistency is the same, it's perfect. But it's got a bulge at the sides. But it mustn't start working towards the edge, otherwise it gets leathery, and the ammonia enters into it. It's got to be exactly right. But nowadays you can't find cheeses like that. This shop in Edinburgh, everything was covered in things. It was covered in hundreds of thousands, or those camembert covered in walnuts. It's kind of veneered by common marquetry. And so I didn't know what to do, and then I thought there was a terribly good old cheese shop in St Andrews, and I met a chap in Edinburgh who said he was in the dairy trade and was going to St Andrews and would give me a lift at 2:00 on the Saturday. So I got a lift with him. Unfortunately, he was a milkman. It was a milk float, which goes terribly slowly. And the shop that I remember on the corner of South Street, a lovely old grocer's, had changed hands and was now a savings bank. And I was in despair, and I thought, I'm not going to get home. And suddenly the lady I was talking to in the woolen mill, I went there to buy some woolen comms to see me through the winter, the old woolen mill. The lady next to me, who was buying a red, white and blue kind of evening dress of wool, we got talking, and she said, "You've got troubles." I won't do the accent because I get letters. You've got troubles. I just sold a huge 20-inch Denis motor mower with seat to a man in Glasgow, and how am I going to get it to him? I said, "I'll drive it." So I drove to Glasgow on this motor mower, which is really quite good. It gets up a good head of steam, downhill. And I got there in time for the midnight train. And on the midnight train, I suddenly thought I'd try on these woolen comms I'd bought. So I took all my clothes off and put them in this new wardrobe they have on sleepers, which is a Louvre thing, which you open. And I took out from the woolen mill bag this, my underclothing, and it wasn't at all. It was a red, white and blue evening dress. I'd picked up the wrong bag in the Woolman. I had this lady's dress. And that was the first mistake. The second mistake was it's not a wardrobe behind the Louvre, it's the window. So I climbed into the dress, which was all I had. And things were looking pretty bleak on Sunday morning. But at lunch, I was sitting miserably in Green Park, and there was an elderly gentleman beside me, looked like a retired judge, holding a suitcase horizontally. And he said, "I'm a retired elderly judge." And he said, "And in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I like my luncheon small and perfect. And I have in this suitcase a bottle of red wine and a brie, a whole brie, which I think is about right." Click, click. Opened the case, and there was the brie. Pressed his thumb in the centre, pressed his other thumb in the middle of his eye. He said, "No, it's not right. It should be right about 7:00 tonight." Well, the rest of the story is obvious. I snatched it from him. I snatched this brie, which would be perfect at 7. And I walked all the way to Barnes, because I hadn't got any money, because my trousers were on the line. And I arrived at Tanya Bruce Lockhart's party for Jamie's little celebration of his christening. And when she saw me, she said, "God, you're like a contralto on the last night of the proms." I said, "Perhaps there is a resemblance, because look at this, Tanya." And I placed the brie on the table, pressed it with my thumb, pressed it with the eyeball of the other, and she said, "What is it?" And I said, "Real Britannia."
Now, Denis, yours is Come Into the Garden, Maud. What's the true origin of that?
Well, it's a pamphlet, actually, because as is well known, I've now made several broadcast appeals on behalf of that mysterious affliction known as literalism. So you can imagine my surprise when I discovered that our new chairman, even though he puts it round that he's a fully qualified doctor, he says he'd never even heard of it. Now, one shouldn't necessarily hold that against him. Obviously, some branch of medicine must go by the board if you take your degree by post, but just the same, I did take the opportunity earlier this evening to slip him a copy of a heart-rending pamphlet about this distressing malady, which was recently compiled by one of its longest surviving victims, namely me. And what this pamphlet explains is that sufferers from literalism, or literalists, as they are known by better informed members of the medical profession, literalists are those unfortunate people who've been cursed with an incurable tendency to take words and phrases literally. Now, for a classic example of the syndrome, my pamphlet quotes a scene in a 1934 movie called It's a Gift, where a butcher, played by W.C. Fields, is asked by a customer, "What do you have in the way of steaks?" "Nothing in the way of them," replies the butcher. "I can get right at them." or to give a more up-to-date example of this propensity towards taking language as its face value, I also quote a somewhat less well-known sufferer, a friend of mine who was standing at a bus stop when a lady got out of a stalled car and said to him, "Excuse me, but would you mind giving me a push?" Well, there, exactly. He simply took it literally and pushed her. Now, apart from, as in that case, the physical harm that can come to you from this inability to see anything but the literal meaning of words, and leaving aside such minor indignities as in my case, spending a large portion of your life under the belief that anchovy paste is some kind of adhesive for mending broken anchovies, I wonder if you can appreciate just how time-wasting literalism can be. If you only knew the hours I've spent brooding over certain newspaper headlines, such as the one, for example, some time ago that said, "America to discontinue trading relations with Iran." Well, since when, I found myself thinking, have people even been allowed to trade their relations? Now, the same thing happened with a newspaper story that was headed "3 armed men in bank raid." I could think it was, how could people with 3 arms even think about robbing a bank when they're obviously so noticeable? I won't even tell you what went through my mind when I came across one that said, "Pornographic films, Home Secretary to act." By far the greatest source of misunderstanding and humiliation for the literalist is practically any form of printed public notice. The particular example that I mention in the pamphlet being one I saw in an underground train. Now, it wasn't the one that so ambiguously announces "fine for spitting," although I have seen several fellow literalists hauled away as a result of that. No, this one I've only seen on the Edgware line at Morden, to be precise. And when I first read it, it struck me as so bizarre, I couldn't help commenting on it to the guard. When he came into the carriage and asked me why I was the only person who hadn't got out of the train, you see, Morden Station being the terminus, I said, "It's because I can't wait to see those." He said, "Those what?" Whereupon I pointed to the notice I'd been staring at, because it read, "Passengers alight both ends." Now, as I say, my remark to him is the one I quote in the pamphlet, under what I think is a rather Tennysonian heading, because it says, "Comment to the Morden Guard."
Thank you, Dennis. I like the idea of literalism. I promise to repair that gap in my education. It only remains for me to announce that today's winners are Frank and Dilys. But Antonia and Dennis will have a chance to have at them in our next programme. Until then, goodbye.
My Word, a panel game devised by Tony Shrine and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Michael O'Donnell.
Thank you, and welcome to today's exploration of the vocabularies of Dilys Powell and Frank Muir, and Antonia, Fraser and Denis Norden. We start with our traditional rummage through the English dictionary in search of illumination. Frank, what's the meaning of a Fizgig? F-I-Z-G-I-G.
Oh, that's a good old word, isn't it?
It's got two meanings. Either will do.
There are many, actually, aren't there? It's a kind of dud firework or shell which goes out of thing. It's a kind of silly, nonsensical idea. It's silly, nonsensical girl.
Yes, those are the two groups that I meant. A frivolous gad-about woman, the Oxford's...
The words were trembling on my lips.
It's a small firework. Apparently it was an Elizabethan firework. I didn't know they had small fireworks then. Squibs. Elizabethan squib. Antonia, Tomalley. T-O-M-A-L-L-E-Y.
Tomalley, yes, it is indeed difficult. Even Dennis is looking puzzled.
Hot tamale, yeah.
It's a Carib word, and it is...
Something you eat.
Yes, well, I think you eat it. It's certainly part of something that you eat. Whether you actually eat the tamale... yes, you must eat the tamale, because I've heard it described.
I've heard the expression hot tamales, and they sell them in the street.
I think we'll give you a mark for the hot tamale, if you can tell us what it is, or...
If it's Caribs, unless they were not exactly vegetarian, it might be a part of our own bodies, might it not?
No, it's not as... it's... wow.
It's a fruit.
It's the green liver of a cooked lobster. It's as simple as that.
That's their story, but I would never believe it.
Do you eat it? You do, don't you?
I do. It's called the fat, isn't it? I've heard it called the fat of the lobster, but it's only in American lobsters, I think, you get green livers. I don't know why. I'm not feeling as well as I did when we started.
Can we move on to...
Dilys and Aspergillum, or Aspergillum, depending on which master taught me at school.
Have you eat it?
Only in season.
Yeah, I think you swing it.
Yes.
I think it's a sprinkler.
It is indeed. A particular sort of sprinkler. Can you be more specific?
Like a cursor.
Rather in kind of...
Not a garden sprinkler, for instance.
No, I'm inclined to associate it with the church.
It is.
Is that right?
That's right, yes.
So it sprinkles something in a church.
Yes.
It sprinkles water.
Yes.
Holy water.
Yes.
Any other kind of
Holy-ish
water? Can't think anything else that sprinkles the church.
Yes, well, I think it's really a brush. That was what I was after. That the priests, when they're doing the asperges, swing upside down and sprinkle the water off the end of it over the congregation.
On trapeze.
Down.
The priests, maybe I should rephrase that. They swing the brush upside down. Denis, Bdellism, B-D-E-L-L-I-S-M.
Are you sure you're not passing coded messages to a foreign power through this
Well,
program?
I could well be today. The only clue I can give you is that I should know the meaning of this word because of my murky past, but I didn't until I was given the script for this program.
Bedell.
Yes.
B-D-E-L-L. It's awfully good for Scrabble, isn't it? A word. B-D. They'd never believe you. You'd get the challenge. You'd get the marks for the challenge when you try. It's a medical word, obviously, and it's something when something goes wrong with your bedell.
It's the practice of using bedels, in fact.
Yes, well, I think it spoils the enjoyment.
They were used quite a lot in hospitals at the turn of the century. There was a jar of bedels on the shelf when I was a medical student in 1946. Yes. And now comes the time when I'm going to give you the quotations, of which Frank and Denis are going to give you the true origins later in the programme. And Frank's quotation is, "I want to say thanks for that lovely weekend." And Denis's is, "Hitch your wagon to a star." Denis is going to tell us where it really came from. Now we come to a round entitled Something in Common. Frank, what have the following got in common? A Crotchet, a Carry-Witchit, a Quiblin, and a Whiblin.
They're not dance movements in the Tudor woggle dance, are they?
They ought to be, really.
Yeah,
I think that's worth a mark for invention. But they aren't. There's something that you really indulge in. You're a good man for an occasional Quiblin, not to mention a Whiblin. And I suspect before this programme is over, Denis would probably have given us a crotchet and you'd have given...
in the 18th century, the word for a pun was a quibble.
That's bang in the centre of the target.
So they're literary expressions.
No, they're all... if you quit when you're winning, you'll get your marks now because they're colloquial synonyms for a pun. Antonia, what have the following got in common? Theophile, or is it Theophile Wagstaff, William Makepeace Thackeray, and Michelangelo Titmarsh?
Well, William...
They're all members of my club, I might say, but that's not really the answer.
They used to get together regularly on a Thursday to discuss which of them had the silliest name.
That could well be true. I think that gets a mark because that's...
They're all the same man.
Yes, Frank has got it. Frank gets
Titmarsh
2
is the
marks.
clue, because it's the
They're
pseudonym.
all Thackeray.
The plush.
Those are the 2 pseudonyms that he used. I must say I didn't know that. In the Garrick Club, to which I was referring, he and Dickens were both members, and they never spoke to one another. Now they've got their busts in the club, and they're in different rooms facing in opposite directions. I'm sure it's intentional. Dilys, what have these names got in common? Or these people got in common? Mary Powell, Catherine Woodcock, and Elizabeth Minshall.
They're cooks.
All in the same novel.
No, they were real people.
Real people. They were all hanged.
No. They lived at a time when there was quite a lot of it about, but...
They were all witches.
No.
Are they literary?
Do you know?
They have literary connections, or they had literary connections.
They had. They all protested about being hanged.
Afterwards.
No, married. Is it to do with marriage to someone?
Yes. Can I pass it? I always think this is pass it to the other side.
They're all married the same man?
Not at the same time. Successively. They were successive wives.
Oh, I know, I've got it. It's Milton. I should have known
done.
all along.
Well done.
Stupid me.
So the marks go to Antonia. Denis, what have the following got in common? A dingbat, a doohickey, a doofer, and a gizmo.
Well, they're all doobries. Yeah? They're all gizmo, doohickey. They're all names for something that you can't remember the name of, or the thing hasn't got a name and is unidentifiable.
That's another meaning for Fizgig.
Fizgig.
Funnily enough, yes. It's just when you can't remember the word, I can't be bothered to read. Have you got a thingamabob?
Gizmo. Anyway, full marks to Denis. We move on to more familiar territory, a round of famous lines of poetry. I'm going to give you a line leading into a much-quoted line. Frank, what follows, beneath the rule of men entirely great...
Is that the famous line?
That's the infamous one.
Beneath the rule
of men entirely great...
They also serve who only stand and wait.
One mark for... It's not it, but it's deceptive in that it doesn't rhyme. It's from the play Richelieu by the man who wrote, Father.
Yes.
Bulwer Lytton.
Beneath the rule of men entirely great.
The pen is mightier than the sword.
It doesn't rhyme.
I know.
I'm scared.
Anyway, what about his word processor? You can't talk to him about pens now.
Yes, the word processor is mightier than the pen. Antonia, what lines follow upon... He went like one that hath been stunned and is of sense forlorn.
Because he fears a fearful fiend does close behind him tread. Is it John Gilpin, just as well?
No, it isn't. It's
Dilys.
Dilys has got it. Dilys, tell us.
Is it a sad and a wiser man?
Yes.
He rose the morrow morn.
Well done. Well done, Will. Now, Dilys, see if you can do as well with your own line. In the spring, a livelier iris changes on the burnished dove. In the spring, a live
fancy lightly turns to thoughts of love.
Well done. Your friend got it for you. Marks to Dilys and Frank. It's in the spring, a young man's fancy lightly turns to thoughts of love. Denis, this is only a half line.
I've given away this evening. It's just it's like being at the dentist. It'll all be over in a while.
You do get half a mark.
Yeah.
I have forgot much, Sinara.
Ah, yes. I am weary of something, love. I've been faithful to thee in my fashion. There's none of those bits, is there?
No. I have been faithful to thee in my fashion. That's the one that recurs all the way through, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's called quaderat demonstrandum.
It's something it's Latin for I will be what I was, or I was what I... Eram comes into it.
It doesn't rhyme with Rhett Butler.
Scarlet for my... Yes.
It doesn't rhyme with Scarlet, but that's what's a heavy-booted clue.
Red.
Doesn't rhyme with it. What was the half line again?
I have forgot much, Sinara, or Sinara, as she's called in the United States, and she would certainly have been called in the United States in the second half of this line.
Yes. No. I'll give
Nobody?
No.
I didn't know it either. It's extraordinary because it doesn't seem to fit in. I have forgot much, Sinara, gone with the wind.
Oh.
Another medical one. Yeah. Now we move on to uncompleted cliches, which does everybody know the Miles and Nagopoline catechism of cliches? Flann O'Brien used to write this column in the Irish Times under the name of Miles Nagopoline. He used to have a catechism of cliches. So I thought I'd put these cliches in his catechismic form. So, Frank, what is, by hallowed tradition, forever incontrovertible? an incontrovertible
Fact.
Yes. You see,
It's amber, I thought.
people in this programme are given to discarding cliches. That's why they find it difficult to think of them straight off. Antonia, what is it of which we always become aware painfully?
Something that's obvious.
Exactly. Dilys, what is invariably ongoing?
Time.
Situation.
Situation.
Or for politicians, cliche.
Yes.
Situation.
Ongoing situations.
Situation.
And Denis, what is inevitably a major...
Major catastrophe.
That's it.
Doma.
Road ahead.
No, there's full marks all round for the cliches. The Miles de Goppeline things used to be like, is a man ever hurt in a motor smash? No, he sustains an injury.
Yes.
And he used to produce great streams of them. Now we come to the moment in the programme when Frank and Denis are going to give us the real origins of those quotations I gave you earlier on. First, Frank, tell us the real origin of I want to say thanks for that lovely weekend.
I want to say thanks for that lovely weekend. Have you day? Actually, I won't be weekending in Corsica next year for a change. No, I'm going to France. We found the most wonderful hotel that really brought back all that you really used to go to France for. The food, the hospitality from the innkeeper, the joy of a really provincial French place. It's all gone, isn't it? I mean, you go to a place now in France, and it's got glass doors with credit cards stuck all over them, showing that cash needn't pass, and you can hear canned music. And it's all wrong. And the food is industrial soup, reconstituted from 10-litre drums from the factory, and it's all... But found this place. Don't know where it was to start with. Middle of France, somewhere in a valley. I was driving back from Nice, and we got lost. Well, it wasn't my fault, actually. The right trafficator, the bulb went. So to be on the safe side, we could only turn left, which makes navigation a little bit more complicated. And eventually, when night came, we found ourselves in this tiny little market town in a valley. And in fact, the sign outside described the name of the village, which was La Vallée, twinned with Catford. And there were several hotels we could have stayed at, but they all had glass doors with credit cards stuck on the outside and slight sounds of canned music. Then we saw this one, the Hotel de la Vallée, and it was France as we used to remember it. The proprietor came out and we said, "Have you got a room?" And he looked at us with loathing and eventually said, "What?" So he said, "Thank you. Can you take the bags up?" Because he didn't shift a finger. But after about 20 minutes waiting by the car, his grandmother appeared, who was 4 foot tall and bent at an acute angle with rheumatism. And she picked up our heavy cases in her claws and disappeared into the... We went inside and there was a bar with an elderly gentleman drinking what appeared to be tomato juice. It eventually turned out to be the local red wine, which isn't very transparent and is thickish. And then we said, "What time is dinner?" And he said, there's nobody else there except this old man. And he said 8 o'clock. So at 9 we were still hanging around. And eventually we went into the dining room, which had 3 small tables, all covered with paper tablecloths, dimpled like a bishop's knees, held to the table with clips, and an illegible menu in mauve, and a very old upright grand piano with a marquetry flaking off like sunburn. And after a while the proprietor arrived with a pad and said, "Soup?" We said, "Yes, thank you." But anyway, we had soup, which looked marvellous. We were very hungry, and I dabbed the spoon in, and immediately ricocheted up in the air again, because the plates have very thick bottoms, the good old French plates, and they're cold anyway, so you're left with a bowl of soup which is in fact a millimetre in depth and stone cold. We were getting back to real French cooking. And then we had the steak, fillet steak it was, and it was marvellous. None of this factory stuff, none of this deep frozen portion controlled steak. It was a real fillet steak. It was sort of black on the edges, and it changed very rapidly to a sort of pale mauve colour. I think it was running round the farmyard about an hour and a half beforehand. So we ate some of the burnt bits and gave the rest to the dog under the table. And then we waited 3/4 of an hour and then got some cold grey peas. And then we had some cheese. It's what French food used to be in hotels. We went up to our bedroom and there was the bed with the cardboard walls. We could hear coughing, and it was the old man 5 bedrooms away picking his teeth. And it was rather difficult to see inside the bedroom because it had the French provincial hotel 4-watt bulb in that frilly glass shade above it. And it was so lovely to do away with those awful foam pillows. This had the good old French bolster. My wife and I tried to shift it and we couldn't lift it. The sand was like real good old heavy stuff. And in the morning we were afraid we might sleep in, and no, not a bit of it. It was, as usual with all those good old hotels, it was next to the shunting yard, and there was... I suddenly said to my wife, that's where we are, it's the Dodoin. When we got the bill the following morning, I said to the proprietor, this almost silent brute, I said, it's so marvellous to find the real French hospitality as it's always been. And the food, as French food was always. And silently, without saying anything, he handed me the bill. It was 110 quid. The equivalent. I said, it's a bit much, isn't it? And he said, well, you had the fillet steak. So I said, well, if fillet steak's all that difficult to come by in La Vallée. He said, no, but English tourists are. So we want to go back. We want to go back and have Friday, Saturday and Sunday there, because that is the France we remember. But it is rather expensive. So I'm not going to Corsica this year. I want to save francs for that La Vallée weekend.
Thank you, Frank. I'm sure the French Tourist Board will be grateful for your commendation. And now, Denis, give us the true origin of hitch your wagon to a star.
Well, what that quotation immediately brings back to mind is a neighbour of mine called Mrs. Thora Tidmarsh. Now, this Mrs. Tidmarsh is an impressive lady, very prominent in local government, community affairs, and round the hips. And even if that Bolshe schoolmaster at number 42 does refer to her as Lucretia Bourgeois, nevertheless, you've still got to admit that not only was she the first person in Northwest 11 to make her own yoghurt, but her husband is still the only man who puts on a dinner jacket to watch Play of the Month. However, what Mrs. T's energies have always been mainly directed towards is trying to upgrade what might be called the popular image of our neighbourhood. Because, you see, the place where Mrs. Tidmarsh elected to build her expensive and tastefully over-decorated home is that area of London's concrete jungle that's called Golders Green. Now, it has to be acknowledged that however salubrious and well supplied with shoe shops Golders Green may be, nevertheless its name very rarely evokes those immediate associations with gentility and social rank as does, say, Tunbridge Wells or Weybridge or even North Wembley come to that. And that's why ever since she took up residence, Mrs. Tidmarsh's chief concern has been to try and devise ways to elevate the neighbourhood's social status. And to that end, I've found myself already conscripted into such doomed enterprises as the Golders Green Highland Games, the Golders Green International Arts Festival in Eisteddfod, even on one melancholy occasion, an attempt to twin Golders Green with the town of La Vallée. But Thora Tidmarsh, she's never been the type to let a mere disaster upset her, and nothing illustrates that better than her most recent idea for propelling Golders Green up the social ladder. Because summoning a group of us to her house, a place where, I give you my word, the bathroom cabinet is bigger than our spare room, she issued her latest edict. One sure way for the name of our place of residence to be imprinted on the social consciousness of a nation was to bottle and market our own local mineral water. See, what hadn't escaped her attention, you see, was that all the places that currently do that, you know, places like Malvern and Buxton and Sherborne, well, the other attribute that they share is an unquestionable reputation for social superiority. And what Thora reckoned was, you see, that by placing ourselves in their league, by having our name on a mineral water label, some of that social cachet would sort of rub off. Well, it was an interesting theory. In practice, we found one major snag about trying to popularise bottles of Golders Green water. Golders Green doesn't have any of its own local mineral water. Yeah, there was a sort of natural spring there once, but sometime in the early part of the century it got built on. There's another shoe shop, actually. we asked the present owner if we could try drilling down a bit, but he'd been using his cellar to store unsold stock, so it would have meant excavating under something like 8 gross pair of Italian flip-flops. We did manage, actually, to draw up one bucketful, but after Mrs. Tidmarsh made that teacher from number 42 drink a trial glass, he walked in a crouch for 3 days. What she'd forgotten, of course, you see, was that the upmarket reputation those other towns enjoy only came about because they'd had suitable water there to begin with. The ensuing prestige was simply due to the liquid's availability. So the lesson, therefore, would seem to be that if your hometown is about to market litre-sized bottles for the sole purpose of goosing up its social esteem, then it would seem a wise move to effect a preliminary tie-up with some already established watering place, or as Emerson so neatly anticipated, hitch your flagon to a spa.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm sure the Golders Green Tourist Board will be grateful for your commendation. It only remains for me to announce that this week's winners, by a whisker, are Frank and Dilys, or by a moustache, I should say. But Denis and Antonia will have a chance in our next programme to have back at them again. Until then, goodbye.
In My Word, Michael O'Donnell was in the chair. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced for the BBC by Tony Shrine and Pete Atkin.
My Word.
A panel game devised by Tony Shrine and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Michael O'Donnell.
Thank you very much, and welcome once again to the arena in which our teams compete in verbal erudition. And our teams, as ever, are Dilys Powell and Frank Muir. And Antonia, Fraser and Denis Norden. And we start, as we always do, with some gentle probing of our team's vocabulary. Frank, what's the meaning of halcyon?
It's a word usually connected with halcyon days, isn't it, as a phrase?
which was, by coincidence, the stage name of Elsie and Doris Waters. They had two little Cockney characters called Halcyon and Days. Actually, it wasn't. It was Girton Days. But
Withdraw.
The Halcyon was, in fact, the ancient name for a kingfisher, and the legend had it that a kingfisher made its nest on the waves, and because it made its nest on the waves calmed, and lovely weather happened. Hence, halcyon days means a beautifully calm, sunny period.
I don't think there's anything more to say except 2 marks, Frank. They happened around the winter solstice. I think that was the only thing you left out. Antonia, a meniscus. 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 What does that mean?
A meniscus. Denis is nodding in that attractive way he has when he knows it.
No, it's one of those, if you just happen to know it. At least I think I happen to know. Is it the reason why certain insects can sort of dance on top of the water?
It is, in fact, to do at the top of water.
If you're small enough, there is a kind of film on top of any floating surface which will take your weight. No?
Would you like to advance anything on that, Antonia, or would you agree? Or
Well, I just thought it would be a nature note. Mainly small people walk on water, with one notable exception.
Yes. Let's give you 2 marks. It's near enough. It's really that sort of surface layer that you see if you look at the side of a glass on the top of the water. It's the surface layer of the water. With some liquids it goes upwards, and with water it goes downwards. Meniscus.
Now I know why Frank was showing me his glass. I thought he was offering me a drink. I couldn't understand. It was sheer decency.
Frank is puzzled now.
It bulges with water. It doesn't dip with water.
It dips with water, bulges with mercury.
Oh.
And I say that dogmatically because I think I'm right.
Right. Well, it's more your area than mine, so I withdraw.
It's also a crescent moon, and it's also one of those cartilages that footballers do in their knee. So he has a done cartilage. It's a meniscus, but that's the medical meaning. Dilys, what's the meaning of goluptuous?
Goluptuous.
Or goluptious. It's
Goluptious.
Goluptious. Goluptious.
Right, I think it means absolutely ravishingly sweet and charming and beautiful and exciting and lovely, like Antonia.
I was going to say like you, both of you. Well done. 2 marks. As simple as that.
It sounds terribly like one of those small group of islands visited by Cook. The Goluptuous Islands. There was no living matter there.
Denis, a nice little verb. What's the meaning of to spuddle? S-P-U-D-D-L-E.
Do you think that's a nice little verb, do you?
Well, it sounds...
I don't know, it sounds like spuddle is like the sort of thing that Gene Kelly did in Singing in the Rain, splashing along that kind of using puddles to advance in a joyous manner.
Yes, I think that earns 2 marks.
Using potatoes.
Could be, yes.
Advance in a joyous manner.
Gene Kelly dancing on potatoes in the rain. Yeah, I think
mashed potatoes.
Mashing potatoes in the rain. Yeah, we'll give you 2 marks for that. It's really to. Oh well.
What a great country this is when you can be applauded for being wrong.
It's charitable, I thought. It had a charitable start.
No, I could tell it was wrong, though, by your...
Well, it's really to dig a garden superficially, to potter around in a garden. But spuddling is a word I shall use, to spuddle. Yes. Now, before we go on to round 2, here are the quotations that Frank and Denis have been given for the last round. And Frank's is The Pirates of Penzance, which is a song by Gilbert O'Sullivan. And Denis's is the tonic solfa. Well, it is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And I'm told it comes from the, it believed to be derived from the letters of a psalm. However, that's what they're going to tackle later in the programme. Meanwhile, we get on with one of these lists of things with something in common. I'm going to give each person a list, and I want to know what they have in common. Frank, your list is a genus of water lily, a variety of horse-drawn carriage, in fact, that one I happen to know had a collapsible hood, a species of domestic pigeon, and a state, and this is a giveaway, of Australia.
New South Wales. No, might it be Victoria?
It might well be.
Oh, excellent.
2 marks to Frank. Well done. Antonia, what do these have in common? Bullets, hot peas, pepper, and vinegar.
Well, I suppose they'd all make one jump. I mean...
What if you mix them all together and swallow them?
No, but I mean a bullet, a hot pea would certainly make one jump. Pepper, make one sneeze. Vinegar.
Well, stick with jumping. You're getting quite close to it if you stick with jumping. Just hop up and down a bit.
Oh, is it a form of dance?
No.
Oh, if one was skipping.
Ah, that's it.
Yes.
That's it. All games played with a skipping rope. 2 marks to Antonia. Well done.
I cannot tell a lie. I owe these marks to Frank Muir, who started to skip up and down in the most extraordinary way.
Without a rope, he's now panting heavily. Dilys, what have these got in common? Fox, grey, wolf, blood, and otter.
They're dogs. They're hounds.
Yes,
All
well
hounds.
done. They're all hounds.
Hounds, something.
Denis, your list is common, fig, mosaic, and digitate. And I think this is fantastically difficult. But
I won't give you an argument on that. I can't see any. Are all these words used as adjectives?
Yes.
In other words, digitate, it's not, I don't know what digitate means, but it's not to digitate, it's a digitate, whatever it is, isn't it? In other words, are they shapes?
Yes.
Do they represent shapes?
Yes.
So you can have it fig-shaped, mosaic-shaped, digitate-shaped.
Lots of little fingers, that means.
Yes, shaped like a finger, yeah. Finger-shaped.
And common.
And common, yeah, which is like the
Your
economy
ordinary.
size one, yeah.
And
what
it's
could you
medical.
Kind of like a strawberry mark, but a fig mark. That.
It's varieties of wart. Known to dermatologists. And I might say easier to define and name than to cure.
Yeah.
In fact,
Charming.
Same
What?
with all of dermatology, though.
Yes. It used to be recommended to us when I was a medical student as the ideal specialty, if you liked a life of security and comfort in medicine, because your patients never get better and they never call you out at night if you're a dermatologist. Let's move on to more familiar territory, poetry, with Peter Moore, who sets these questions, says poetry with oceanic overtones, which is a sort of subtle clue. Can you recite the lines of poetry from which the following pair of words has been extracted? Frank, lonely sea.
Moscow is the clue, isn't it? I must go down to the to the seas again, to the lonely sea in the sky. And all I ask is a tall ship and a star has to steer her by. And a hoom, and a hoom, and a hoom, hey.
Yes, 2 marks. Read them without the homework.
John Masefield says sea fever.
Yes. Antonia, silent sea.
Is it an ancient mariner?
Yes. Shall I start you off?
I know what
The fair breeze blew, the white foam flew, the furrow followed free,
Give me the next line and I'll give you the last intimate silence.
We were the first
that
that ever burst
onto that silence.
or even into that silent sea.
Well, if you like, yes, okay. I think so.
The Bishopric of York, the silent sea. 2 marks for Antonia. Dilys, recite the lines that contain silver sea.
Oh, that's a bit of Shakespeare. This precious stone set in the silver sea.
That is it? Yes. Do you want to, can you go on?
I don't think I
Which
can
serves it in the office of a wall, or as a moat defensive to a house against the envy of less happier lands. I've always been worried by that. On the less happier lands.
Yeah.
Anyway, where in Shakespeare?
Yes, yeah.
Richard II, I think.
Yes, that'll do.
It's halfway down on the right-hand side page.
I thought I'd
The bit with the CeeLo tape over it. Denis, recite the lines that contains sunless sea.
Well, that was used to give me a shiver, that one. In Xanadu did Kublai Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man down to a sunless sea. I thought that was, when I first read that as a kid, that really gave me the horrors, that picture.
You managed to convey that, as you
Did I? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if there was any
Anyway,
people of
2
weak
marks.
disposition listening.
Now, for a round of those words designed to subvert the confidence of foreigners who try to write our language, words that sound the same but are spelt differently. Frank, what 2 words that sound the same mean bellicose intent and to assemble?
In any particular tent?
I think of bellicose intent would help you.
Marshal.
Yes, well done.
Martial.
Martial.
Or Marshal.
And Marshal. Well done. 2 marks for that. Antonia, your 2 words mean a sham attack and indistinct.
Oh, faint.
Faint. Well done. Dilys, your words mean novel and an ox-like antelope.
I just don't know any antelopes, personally.
Novel.
It was
A Flanders and Swan song.
Start the second version with G. New.
Oh, really?
Dilys can't believe it.
I don't believe it. GNU, yes.
Well, anyway, she gets 2 marks even though she can't believe it. New and GNU. Denis, a corporal appendage and to paint a picture, depict or portray.
The corporal appendage, I think, is 2 stripes.
Well, let's say a bodily appendage.
I see. If you think of new, and if you like that one, I suppose it's jaw and jaw, is it?
No, I think I can give.
Well, I think that ought to do.
I think so.
I think yes, we'll give you that 2 marks. But to have a go at sort of the appendage that you have an upper and a lower, and you're out on it at the moment.
Oh, limb. Oh, limb. L-I-M, limina. Yes. Oh, that's good.
Well done. I haven't really had to give any clues today, which is nice. Now we come to the last round, and Frank and Denis's quotations. And Frank's quotation is "The Pirates of Penzance," and he's at this moment blowing his nose in a piratical handkerchief.
Recovered. I'm afraid this is rather boring, this explanation. So if there are other things you want to do, I honestly will get on with them. Do your legs for the dance on Saturday, or fumigate the cat. But I made a literary discovery.
during the week, which I think, with all modesty, I think will earn me a footnote in the book page of the Egham News on Friday. And I've discovered that Ben Jonson, when he named his first comedy Volpone, was given the name not by William Shakespeare, which is usually agreed as the case. It wasn't him at all. Now, Ben Jonson had a mummy and a daddy, and his daddy had two sisters, and they were terribly sweet, and one of them used to look after Ben when he was ill and fuss over him. She was very kind, and he used to call her Auntie Dote. And the other one was a very high church woman, and he called her Auntie Disestablishmentarianism. And they were terribly sweet, these aunties. They were just normal, sort of high-spirited girls. One was 7'4", and she had a wooden leg. But it was willed to her by her uncle. It was a nautical gentleman, but she carried it everywhere. And the other one, Auntie Dote, was very short and rather fat. And they decided to go in for this race to bring the new wine back from the Canary Islands. It was called the Sack Race. And all people rushed across to fetch the wine. And these, Auntie Dote and Auntie Disestablishmentarianism, went on this boat, and it got shipwrecked, and they got captured by a Corsair pirate, the Bey of Tunis, and got flung into his harem. But they escaped with the aid of Auntie Disestablishmentarian's wooden leg, because she thumped the warder with it, the eunuch. And they crept down to the harbour, and there they found a caïque, which the fishermen used for collecting sponges. And it's terribly unusual in the Mediterranean to find a sponge caïque floating on the water. And it was full of sponges, but they jumped in and thrust off from the shore. No oars. But fortunately, Auntie Dote was very strong, and Auntie Disestablishmentarian was so long and thin that Auntie Dote used her as an oar. And they got home, and they sold the sponges for 2 parrots, which the owner would only part with on condition that they knitted them. They knitted the 2 parrots tall cages of rope, because they were stuffed inside leather drinking jacks, these poor parrots, which is no way for parrots, because, parrots have got to get their feet round perches, and the perches were on the floor, and the parrots couldn't get their feet round, and they weren't sleeping, and they were terribly bags under their eyes, and they agreed to knit 2 rope cages with bars that they could roost on way up, and this is the first recorded hire purchase agreement ever been made. And the parrots were also terribly proper. And at that time, when they went to visit their nephew Ben Jonson, he was writing masks with this chap Mr. Jones, this architect and designer. And Mr. Jones had been to Italy and was full of foreign ideas, and they were very naughty. And these masks were full of ladies with their skirts split up to the top of their ankle. And they wore see-through gloves. And absolutely horrified. And Ben Jonson was sitting in the audience worrying about what name to give his play. He had the subtitle, Or the Fox. But he couldn't get the title. And he thought, what shall I call it? Albert Rosenblatt? Or the Fox? No, it doesn't sing. And suddenly, this mask started, and these parrots, these prim parrots on their aunt's shoulders, saw these ladies with their see-through gloves and their naked ankles. And they shouted out. Oh, they screeched. Vile porno! Vile porno! Vile porno! Ben Jonson said, that's the title of my play, that's it. So it wasn't Shakespeare who gave Ben Jonson the title Volpone. Not at all. It was the parrots of Ben's aunts.
Thank you, Frank. I'll be scanning the Egham News on Friday. And Denis, let's see how you get on with Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti.
You know, the last time I heard that particular set of musical monosyllables, it was one afternoon last summer when they were called out to me over the garden fence by our next-door neighbour. You know, it's that lady I've often told you about. You know, there's the rather strange one who believes that alien beings from another galaxy are leaving coded messages in her milk bottle. but her reason for calling out those words was because of an experiment that a half-undressed group of us were about to try on my lawn. Now, what that experiment actually was, I'll come back to later. I promise. I will. But first, I have to remind you about last summer, because it was the one where, for months on end, Britain basked in the kind of sunshine where every time you got in your car, the only way to hold the steering wheel was with oven gloves. Remember that? Well, the main consequence of that heat was that the whole population suddenly went suntan crazy. We became a nation of people whose only ambition was to go the colour of an elderly briefcase. Which is why, that particular afternoon, my lawn was covered with a whole slew of semi-naked friends, all stretched out flat on their backs, and every one of them wearing those ridiculous silver reflector things under their chins so as to direct the ultraviolet where they most wanted it, which, to anyone not interested in that kind of thing, appeared to be straight up their nostrils. Now, the person who actually wasn't interested in that sort of thing was, of course, me, mainly because my skin happens to be so sensitive to sun. Lying out there in the full glare like that would not only have turned my whole body roughly the same hue as prawn cocktail, but it would have left my face looking like someone had filled my nose with neon. So I'd sat myself under a tree in a dressing gown with a towel round my head. But as I surveyed that strange crop of silver reflectors all over the grass, I suddenly remembered an article that I'd read quite recently in a magazine. It was all about something called solar power, which according to the author, is a form of energy that can not only be as effective as oil, it would also work out cheaper. And what's more, I remember thinking to myself, it wouldn't be anywhere near as messy on your shoes either. But it was at that moment that my idea was born. I called out, hey, everybody, we're going to try an experiment. I'll bring a kettle of water out here. I want all of you to sit round in a circle, and then if those reflectors of yours can focus the sun's rays on the kettle to the point where the water boils, we shall this day achieve something unique in scientific history. The first cup of tea in Northwest 11 ever to have been brewed by solar energy. Do you know, nobody in that rotten crew as much as stirred. All they wanted to do was stay where they were, gently sautéing in ombre solaire. And I might well have despaired of raising the technological consciousness of my postal zone had it not been, as I mentioned earlier, for the intervention of that moment of the lady next door. Because, you see, having installed herself in the position she always adopts when we're out in the garden, that is to say, crouched behind her side of the fence, listening to every word we're saying, this was when she couldn't resist volunteering her services. I say, Mr. Norden, she called, and indicating the silver reflector thing she was also wearing under her chin, she then made that musical request to be included in my scientific experiment. please, she said, do re mi for sola ti.
Dennis, thank you, Dennis, for introducing us to Norden, the man of science. Now, I have to announce a most unusual event, and that today's game has ended in a tie, a draw. So we're going to have a replay, and we'll be tossing for ends and giving our teams the chance to break the deadlock in our next programme. And until then, goodbye.
In My Word, Michael O'Donnell was in the chair. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced for the BBC by Tony Shrine and Pete Atkin.
My Word.
Panel game devised by Tony Shrine and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Michael O'Donnell.
Thank you very much, and welcome to today's lexicological encounter between our teams, Dilys, Powell and Frank Muir. And Antonia, Fraser and Denis Norden. And we start with our traditional plunge into the dictionary in search, if not of meaning, at least of definition. Frank, what do you think is the dictionary definition of gubernatorial?
Gubernatorial. Statesmanlike.
Getting pretty close. Would you like
But
would you like to
it's
just
something to do with statesmanship.
Yes.
Govern.
Try govern.
A fairy whisper on my right says, try govern.
That's that, and
It's
govern Glasgow or govern or.
yes,
Gov.
or.
Well, two marks for
Governormanship.
to do with governors and governing, or it says in the dictionary actually pertains to a governor. I like that word, pertains.
Yes.
It denotes physical attachment, rather like a leech, I always think, pertain. Anyway, we'll give you 2 marks. Well done, Frank. Antonia, magniloquent.
Magniloquent. Well, although you are a magnificent chairman, you are not a magniloquent one. Thank goodness.
Well, crawling won't get you extra marks. So, tell me what I'm
sorry,
not.
I've only just started.
It will eventually.
Magniloquent means full of lots and lots and lots of words, talking about.
Yes. And
Bombastic.
getting near. We'll give you 1 mark for that. And if you could magni it a bit.
Very bombastic.
Yeah, well, yes, why not? But we'll give you 2 marks. Boastful in manner, lofty, highfalutin in expression, a quality totally foreign to your nature. Well done. 2 marks.
That's
Anthony.
exactly. That's what I said all along.
Dilys, what's the definition of Cimmerian? I think is the pronunciation. Cimmerian.
This pen doesn't write. Cimmerian. Oh. Well, I have a feeling that geographically or mystically, that means very dark, because the people who lived there, that lot who lived in Cimmeria,
or even the people who were called the Cimmerii, I think they were.
Yes. They lived in complete darkness. They never had any light, poor ducks.
2 good marks. Dark, gloomy, cave-like wins 2 marks. Denis, mezzanine. What is the
two seats on the mezzanine?
Little floor.
Yeah. Well, is it used very much over here? I was a cinema manager at one time. When people paid to go into the circle, they were the knobs. You know, this was the Trocadero Elephant and Castle. And it was very posh to go into the circle, but sometimes the circle was full, you see, and you didn't like to make people who'd paid that amount of money, which was all of 1 and 6 in those days, queue, you see. So we used to say, queuing for the circle on the mezzanine. And they didn't mind queuing there, you see. It was if you just said queuing for the circle, they would stalk out in a huff. You know? And it was sort of between the first floor and the ground floor. But it's very much more, I think, in America that it is a type of theatre seat, isn't it, Antonia, in America? They say 2 seats in the mezzanine, don't they?
And all hotels have a mezzanine floor in America.
Well, somewhere buried in that reminiscence were 2 marks that Denis won, because mezzanine is a story between the ground and first floors of a building. And it says in the dictionary, once a frequent feature of Odeon cinemas.
Well, this wasn't the Odeon.
But they had a real one. You invented one in your cinema. Now, before we go into the next round, here are the quotations that Frank and Denis have been given for the last round. Frank's is somewhere over the rainbow. And Denis, someday I'll find you. In fact, they could be run together. Somewhere over the rainbow, Frank. Someday I'll find you, Denis. And we'll come to those later in the programme. Now, meanwhile, let's have a round of drinks. I see that brings a sparkle to your eyes, but I fear they're only literary drinks. Frank, in what way is the onomatopoeic word Samson relevant to the assimilation of alcohol? Samson. What sound is that hyphenated word, in a manner of speaking, onomatopoeing?
That's good. I read it once in a book, and I've never read it again since. And it was when I was researching for a book 7 years ago on food and drink. A chapter of it was on food and drink, and I was on drunkenness. And Samson was at one time an onomatopoeic phrase supposed to reproduce the sound that a drunk makes in a slumber. And it was very early.
Yes, it was.
And I met it just that way. Chaucer.
It was well done.
It was yes. Chaucer, wasn't
well
it?
Done too.
It was Chaucer.
That deserves 2 of our very best marks.
That's not knowledge, it's just a bit of luck.
Yes, but I thought
it's in the book.
It's very difficult.
There in the Albury's Brief Lives, Skimson Scampson.
Yes. Crinkum Crankum.
Crinkum Crankum, that's right.
That has various meanings, one of which we can't discuss.
Swisser Swasser was another one, that's right.
What's that?
Can't be told on a family programme. I'll tell you after.
All I can remember.
It can, actually. Swisser Swasser was Sir Walter.
Sweet Sir Walter.
Yes.
He's Sweet Sir Walter, Sweet Sir Walter. And then as the combat reached its conclusion, the lady couldn't say Sweet Sir Walter anyway. Sweet Sir Walter. She proved with child.
Antonia, in what lethal fashion did drink contribute to the downfall of Socrates?
Well, he drank hemlock, poor old thing, and it did for him.
Exactly. 2 marks?
Yes.
It's as simple as that. Dilys, let me quote from the Book of Proverbs, the authorized version. And it's a verse that ends like this. When it giveth his colour in the cup, when it moveth itself aright, at the last it biteth like a serpent, and stingeth like an adder. How does that verse begin?
Wine, I should think.
Yes.
Is it wine?
It is wine.
More than wine? Red wine?
It's a little bit of advice about wine.
Look not on wine.
Look not
When
thou...
it is red.
That's right.
Yeah.
Denis, there was a famous 1930s cartoon that Thurber did in the New Yorker, and it showed a pretentious host pouring a glass of wine for his guest. What was the chap saying, according to the caption?
The line was so perfect that I don't think I'll get it right.
Well, you give us
but
the
it's
flavour.
generally quoted as something like, "It's an unpretentious little wine, but I think you'll find its presumption amusing."
Yeah,
Something like that.
That's the line we're after, and we'll give you the marks, and then I'll give you the line.
All right.
Frank's going to have a go.
Unpretentious little native Burgundy, but I think you'll be amused by its presumption.
Bemused by its presumption.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
getting-
With no pedigree, it says. It's something with no
You're
pedigree.
getting very close
Isn't
to
it
it.
naive? Doesn't the word
Naive comes into it
yes,
as well.
It's a naive little claret.
Shall I hump all these suggestions together, distill them into one line, and it becomes, it's a naive domestic Burgundy without any breeding, but I think you'll be amused by its presumption. They're very good New Yorker cartoons, all sort of restaurant manners. There was one, I remember, of a rather angry diner confronting a chap in a chef's hat, and he was saying, "Are you the chef whom this steak is a la?" Let's move on to a round in which I'm going to show what a kind and generous chap I am. I'm going to start by giving you all the answers. And in order to get your marks, what you've got to do is tell me what was the question. And Frank, your answer is the quotation, "Ignorance, madam, pure ignorance." What's the question?
The question was, why, Dr. Johnson, did you in your dictionary say that a pastern was the knee of a horse?
Well done.
You're very-
Perfection.
Ignorance, madam.
2 marks. Antonia, your answer comes in 2 parts. The first part is "at Stonehenge," and the second is "on a charge of murdering Alec." What is the question?
What is it? Tess of the Derby?
Yes, it is.
right.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
I'm just
Well,
guessing.
you're
because-
halfway there.
Yes.
What happened at Stonehenge?
Well, she was nabbed by the police.
That's right. She was arrested,
Yes.
and
And why? Why?
the second on a charge of murdering Alec. That's right.
Well, why was she arrested? On a
Exactly.
charge- Yes.
That's 2 marks to Antonia. Well done. Now, Dilys, your answer is 2 quotations. The first is "a little more than kith and less than kind," and the second one is "the rest is silence." What is the question that produces those 2 quotations as the answer?
Do you think?
Hamlet, isn't it?
It's Hamlet, yes.
A little more than kith and less than kind, which he says in the first big scene when you come off the battlements and that everybody's on. And the other quotation is "the rest is silence."
That's the end of Hamlet.
That's right. Can you think of a question that would link those 2 bits together?
No, only what links those 2 bits together.
Yes. Any suggestions from the other team?
Dennis did Hamlet, I know.
I did what you had to. We had to learn it by heart. And I think that's what Hamlet says before he dies, "the rest is silence."
Yes.
So would it be his sort of opening speech and his closing speech?
It would be. Well done.
Yeah.
2 marks for Denis. See, all that work paid off.
Yeah.
What's the
Years
question
later.
that linked them?
Yeah.
What were the first and last
I
words
see.
spoken by Hamlet? We did Hamlet too. The journalist Paul Johnson was our Hamlet. A red-headed Hamlet we had. This guy was Polonius, and when he said,
That's a rotten thing to be, isn't it? Yeah.
"The rest is silence," his sword clattered down the stage, rolled over, bang, and everybody started laughing. Poor boy, he was very good. Up till that moment. Denis, your answer is 4 larks, 2 owls, 1 hen, 1 wren. What's the question?
What's Mrs. Beaton's recipe for after supper snack? For one lunch. It's not one of those things like in a partridge in a pear tree. It's not.
It is. It's getting near to, and it's more nonsensical. If you can get more nonsensical than a partridge in a pear tree.
It's nonsensical. Does that give you Edward Lear?
Yes, it does. It gives you Edward Lear.
Well, I always get letters when I say this, but I can't be doing with Edward Lear.
I knew we got on quite. There was some bond between us. Yeah. I detest him, but
I don't know. It was probably one of his those awful limericks where he sort of dodged the column by making the last line the same. Do you know what it is?
I love Edward Lear. I must speak up for him. It's what the old man had in his beard.
Exactly. Well done, Antonia. Let's move on to a quick round of words that drive visiting foreigners bananas. These are the words where it's spelt the same way, but if you pronounce them differently, they have different meanings. I'm going to give you the meanings. Frank, what word pronounced in different ways can mean either an ingress or to captivate?
Well, there's only one synonym for egress. Ingress, which is an entrance.
Well done.
Or you could pronounce it entrance.
Exactly. 2 marks. Well done. Antonia, one word that can mean a barren waste, or pronounced another way, can mean to abandon.
Oh, or a pudding, a dessert or a dessert.
Well, not spelt the same way, quite. Isn't a dessert? Hasn't a pudding got 2 S's in it? Yes. Anyway, what you were saying was dessert and desert, wasn't it? Well, that's 2 marks. Dilys, a business agreement or to shrink. One word pronounced in a different way.
Contract.
Well done. 2 marks. Denis. One word that can mean to infuriate, pronounced this different way, becomes a holy effluvium.
Holy effluvium is incense, or incense.
Well done. 2 marks. And now we come to Frank's and Denis's quotations. And Frank, your quotation is, somewhere over the rainbow.
I was musing this afternoon, in my tweedy, pipe-smoking way, about spoilers, about people who spoil your pleasure. They don't mean to, but they somehow reduce a moment of excitement and fun, and it suddenly crumbles away and becomes a moment of dross. The sort of gramophone record spoilers, with whom are incorporated radio listener spoilers. There was a neighbour of mine who, years ago, suddenly said, there's a wonderful new singer called Tom Jones. I've got his record. Come round and listen to it. And I went round, and he put the record on, and as soon as the record started, he started singing. It's not unusual to be loved. It's not unusual. All the way through he sang. And at the end, he took the pickup off. And rest of the moment said, he's very good, isn't he? Didn't hear a word. It just sung. And those people who spoil your appetite, hostesses do this, is when they give you the recipe. I was eating a thing which was called fruit snowball, and I said politely to my hostess, "Oh, this is rather nice." And she said, "Oh, it's so easy to make too." She said it's supposed to be sour cream, but I hadn't got sour cream, but some of the yogurt had gone rancid. And you mix in apple. It should be a nice soft apple. It doesn't matter if it's a bit maggoty because you do cook it afterwards. Or at least one recipe cooks it. But I found the one I use, you just mix it in with the white of an egg. And luckily I dropped an egg on the floor and I had a
real old fight with a cat, but he left enough for me to scrape up. And then you mix it in your hands and mould it into these snowballs. And I said, are these little dots chocolate? She said, no, I remember digging the leeks just beforehand. No, it wasn't that. She said, Hugo helped me mould them, and he's just taken up snuff. Do have some more. And I refused more. But I just, the worst bore and spoiler of things was this chap who always comes around and moans about the weather. Arthur he is. And he comes around and says, if it doesn't rain, all your hollyhocks are going to die, you know. And the next Thursday, after there's been a rain, he says, this is going to destroy the potatoes, you know. It's going to ruin them. No sweet potatoes next year. And we were on holiday in Corsica, and we were having a drink there in this wonderful sunshine, and suddenly there was Arthur. Hello, he said. Hello. He said, they need a bit of rain here. He said, there'll be forest fires here. He said, by Tuesday, unless I'm very much mistaken, unless there's a rain, and you'll never miss him. And you'll find him when you're enjoying your holiday. Do watch out for this really spoiler of your pleasure. Arthur, you think you're safe, but you're not anywhere. Somewhere, Arthur the Rainbow.
Thank you very much, Frank. I think you've driven your story spoiler along the Thames Valley a couple of miles, because he's taken up residence in our local now. Anyway, Denis, let's see how you get on with Someday I'll Find You.
Well, this coming weekend is a very big one for me, because you see, on the dot of Friday midnight, I'm due to come off my diet. See, for the past month, I've been on that high fibre plan. You know, the one that allows you to eat anything as long as it tastes like pencil shaving. and I can now tell you the worst part about adhering to a very strict diet. The worst part is what it does to the brain. Because all I ever think about now is food. Nothing else all the time but food. Even when Frank was telling his story, and it was so ironical to hear appetite spoiler. There's no such thing in my case as appetite spoiler. And while he was, I may have looked like I was just sitting here idly swinging my drumsticks, but you know what was actually pounding through my head all the time? Clotted cream and rice pudding and dipping fried chips in caster sugar. You see, all the things, all those things that you can't eat, even if you don't want them, because you can't eat them, they become an obsession. They really do, and you've no idea of the humiliations that can lead you to. Do you know, one day last week, I actually found myself down on my knees sobbing. Please don't go away, I heard myself pleading. Please don't leave me in the house on my own while there's donuts in the fridge. Well, honestly, I mean, is that the way for a mature adult to talk to a man who's only there to read the meter? Mind you, it's this time of day that's always the worst, because it's round about now that I'm used to having those little snacky things that you nibble at while you're having a drink, you know, and every time I think about all those people who can still eat them, I get awful bouts of what one distinguished dieter once called peanuts envy. And it's no good you're telling me I should try and think about something else, because at this moment there is only one other thing that I can think about. Whipped cream walnuts. You may not believe it, but at this moment I would kill for a whipped cream walnut. In fact, there is only one way to survive a diet, and that is to keep your mind on what you're going to tuck into the moment you come off it, which in my case, will be, as I've mentioned, on the stroke of midnight this Friday. That's why, thanks to that wonderful institution known as the Late Night Supermarket, 3 minutes past midnight will find me stuffing down 2 fruit and nut bars simultaneously with the paper wrappers on. And I've got equally big plans for Saturday lunch, because I'm going all out for protein. In other words, to a barbecue party being held by a neighbour whose wife has had such a good thing going with the local butcher. The steaks at their barbecues are always large enough to lasso. But even worthier dreaming about fodder is what I intend to have for lunch the following day, because that's when we've got an invitation to the Robinsons, who, by the most happy coincidence, actually are a Swiss family. So what I can count on there is a certain native delicacy that features hot melted cheese and white wine into which you dip all manner of calorie-bearing goodies. What's more, although my own attempts at making this delicious dish have always proved so disastrous, my kids finally christened it Fondant. One thing I know from experience is that when the Robinsons whip it together, you just take one bite and proceed to heaven. Those, then, are the only things which are currently keeping me sane, my eating intentions for the coming weekend. So for any of you who may be suffering the same pangs, let me just briefly recap them. Saturday, I'll barbecue. Then, as an old coward once sang, Sunday, I'll fondue.
Thank you, Denis, for creating an all too familiar fantasy for dieters. It only remains for me to announce that today's winners are Antonia and Denis. Well done. But Dilys and Frank will, I'm sure, make a fighting comeback in our next programme. Until then, goodbye.
In My Word, Michael O'Donnell was in the chair. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced for the BBC by Tony Shrine and Pete Atkin.
My Word.
A panel game devised by Tony Shrine and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Michael O'Donnell.
Thank you, and welcome to the arena in which our teams are ready once again to square up in philological confrontation. And our teams, as ever, are Dilys Powell and Frank Muir, and Antonia, Fraser and Denis Norden. And we start, as usual, by turning to the dictionary in search of meaning. Frank, what is the meaning of hepatic?
There was a very, 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 very old line in Punch, or the London Charivari, which said, a good life depends on the liver. It's something to do with the liver.
Yes, it is indeed.
You get hepatitis.
Two marks to Frank. In fact, the definition in the dictionary reads as a definition should, because it says of or pertaining to or having a beneficial influence upon the liver, or liverish, as we doctors call it. Antonia, crassitude. What's the meaning of crassitude?
Well, I don't think it's a very nice quality to have. I don't think if one was full of crassitude, one would be invited on My Word. Do you? I mean, I know you don't invite us, but...
But if I did invite you, I wouldn't invite you if you displayed crassitude. I think you're right. So surmise.
Exploring my way by degrees, nobody present's got crassitude. So it's exceptional stupidity?
Yes, that'll do. 2 marks for exceptional stupidity. It's interesting, actually, that it also refers to the quality of being thick, in terms of liquids being thick.
We're not thick either, in any way, are we?
But it's nice. I mean, it was George Eliot, apparently, who transferred it to people. Sort of the idea of being thick goes back further than I thought it did.
Clot, calling people a clot. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yes. Dilys, a pantechnicon.
Pantechnicon, oh, well, if you have the misfortune to have to move from one house to another, and you have any furniture to take with you, you send for a pantechnicon to carry it.
Well, that is the more modern use of the word. Do you know what the original... we will give you your marks for that, but can you tell us what it meant before it was a movable van?
It's a movable van and a movable storage, I think, as well.
But before movable storage...
Before movable? Oh, come.
Immovable storage.
Exactly. It's that nice word that I've always intrigued me, a depository.
Yes.
Which is a sort of warehouse full of furniture. It's where Oxford usually start to go ahead, isn't it, at Harrods Depository? Or do they call it repository? I'm never sure in the boat race.
The people's suppository for sick animals.
Denis, what's the meaning of a bugaboo? B-U-G-A-B-O-O.
Well, I've always taken that to mean a kind of created bogeyman, a setup. I tell you what sums it up. Wait till your father comes home. That is creating a bugaboo out of a mild, inoffensive, child-loving man.
That's bang in the centre of the target. It's a fancied object of fear. Well done. Meanwhile, the quotations that Frank and Denis have been given are Frank, here today, gone tomorrow. And Denis, there's a sucker born every minute. Turned into a song in the musical of Barnum, but I think attributed to Barnum. Meanwhile, let's have a round of derivations. Frank, what's the origin of the expression, it's all my eye and Betty Martin?
Oh, yes. Well, it goes back a long way. And it's supposed to be the Reformation, when they started sort of kicking things Catholic about and poking fun at them, that was a prayer to St. Martin. And it was a rough equivalent of the Latin. But we don't really believe that, do we?
I don't know. Do you?
I think it's all my eye.
Can you remember the prayer? To get the full marks.
It's all mihi and Bettina Martini.
Oh, mihi. Or my high. Yes. Oh, me. It was the beginning of a prayer. Mildly blasphemous cant phrase it became when anti-popery was fashionable in the whole of the United Kingdom. Antonia, what's the derivation of preposterous?
Well, it must be before the behind, which is a contradiction, isn't it?
Well, yes. And nothing could be more preposterous than a contradiction.
So it's praeposterior.
Yes, exactly. A cart before the horse.
Yes.
Yes, 2 marks. Somebody sent me a couple of weeks ago the nicest cart before the horse thing that I've seen for a long time. It was an inscription on a gravestone in Ireland, and it reads, erected to the memory of John Mourn, accidentally shot as a mark of affection by his brother. So it is preposterous in more ways than one. Dilys, what's the origin of a dandelion?
Oh, there's a kind of poetic explanation for that, which I've often doubted, but I've always believed, because I'm very credulous, that it really meant dandelion. I mean, a lion's tooth, lion's teeth, because of the shape of the petals.
Your credulity earns you 2 marks. Well done. Denis, a curfew. whence comes the word curfew?
Wasn't it the covering fire? Didn't it in way back there when they were all saying "My Eye" and Betty Martin and things like that? Fires were obviously a great risk if you left them alight at night. So somebody used to ring a warning bell to tell everybody to make sure they put their fire out before they went to bed. Couvre le feu or something.
Yes.
Couvre le feu.
The 2 marks all round, correct. Now we move on to more familiar territory for this programme. A round of familiar lines from Shakespeare. I'm going to ask you what well-known line, dare I call it a cliché, comes after these. Frank, Hamlet is speaking and says, "But to my mind, though I am native here, and..."
Born. To the men are born.
Yes, you heard Antonia. Well done. Antonia, Macbeth is speaking. "That but this blow might be, that but this blow might be..."
Come on, Frank.
It's not a big run up to it, is it?
No.
It's in the bit that starts off, "If it were done when 'tis done, 'twere well it were done quickly."
The supreme being, no.
It might be the, all, and the. It's like doing an anagram in a crossword, isn't it?
The be-all and the end-all.
Yes, well done. The be-all and the end-all.
Are you sure, Michael? I don't think
I did actually. This is part of my health-giving walk today. I also looked it up to make sure, because I wanted to see what it was. There was such a short run. It is the be-all and the end-all, and it does come. I saw that thing actually. "If it were done when 'tis done, 'twere well it were done quickly." I saw it poker worked as an advertisement outside a dry cleaners in San Diego.
Really? I would have thought it would be out damned spot.
Dilys. Someone says of Cleopatra, and it comes after the barge she sat in, says, "For her own person..."
Oh. It beggars all description.
That's right. That's 2 marks worth. It was actually in the past tense, and it beggared all description, but we're not worried about details like that. Denis, Iago speaking and says, "The native act and figure of my heart in compliment extern, 'tis not long after, but..."
Is it something to do with the heart?
Yes. "The native act and figure of my heart in compliment extern, 'tis not long after, but..."
No.
And then there's the cliché, followed by "for doors to peck at."
I wear my heart upon my sleeve for
How
doors
did you
to
guess
peck
it?
at.
Well done. 2 marks to Denis. Now we're going to move on to what I think is a rather impertinent round, because we're going to inquire into your family lives. And we're in search of words or phrases used by families only in the privacy of their homes. And in fact, we're talking about your homes. We want to know what family words you can dredge up for us. 1 family word will do for 2 marks. And the sort of thing we're after is there's an anonymous housewife somewhere who has a name for those little balls of dust and fluff that tend to lurk in undusted corners of a room. And she calls them slut's wool. And I've been, if it's going to be soul-bearing time and to give you time to think, I thought I'd reveal one of our own if you want. Oh, you don't need time to think. You've got one.
There's a male equivalent of that fluff, which some gentlemen find in their tummy buttons. It's called flobble. No, I think as soon as you started, I thought you meant real family words, like as children make up, which are better in many ways than the original ones. And our children had Makinsop for a waterproof coat. And for that stuff you put on beef, horse rubbish.
and for how you look in the morning, bed-raggled.
Very good, very good. Antonia, have you got any family words you're prepared to reveal?
I could offer two. One is something called taking one of nature's cuts, which is myself going to sleep in front of the television. That's one. It's a long word, but it is a word. Taking one of nature's cuts. It's very important. You can also take one of nature's cuts in the cinema or the theatre, but it being nature's cuts. And the other is another long word, which is having a drink of God's champagne, which is in fact water.
I think those will do very well. Well done, Antonia. Dilys, have you got a secret family word?
No, a tunnel which you go through in a train was always known in my family as one of those underground things. Which not very it was very difficult for one's elders to understand what one meant those underground things.
You sound well above it, don't you? That's the nice thing.
And there was the word mizzled for misled. Always referred to, if one was mizzled, one was misled. That's about as far as I can go.
I think those are very nice. Well done. Denis.
Well, the only one that I can think of off the bat was when my son was very small. He derived more pleasure, it was a very cheap form of entertainment, from watching roadworks. And they used to have those pile driver things that men used to hold by two handles, and they went down, and they went f-duff. And if he ever got in a tiz, or we'd say, let's come out and look at the faduffer. And that would quieten him down. And the strange thing was he grew up to be an architect. And he once rang me and said, I am actually employing 2 faduffers.
Now we'll have one of these quick round. Actually, it's an interesting quick round. It's words that change their meaning when they become plurals. As, for example, draft, which is a current of air, when it becomes plural and becomes drafts, becomes a board game. Now, Frank...
Horse. No, it's the same. Oh, yes, drafts is very good. Excellent.
Your little horse, it's when they become larger. Frank, your 2 words, singular is a public show, and plural is glasses for looking.
Spectacle and spectacles.
Well done, 2 marks. Antonia.
Golly, that was difficult.
Singular is crystalline, or could be granular limestone, and plural is a childish ball game.
Granular limestone. How's your geology?
Crystalline. Actually, it's crystalline or granular limestone, singular.
Crystalline and a child's...
Monumental.
Marbles.
Marble and marbles.
I love the slow way you produce it, as though Denis hadn't shouted it into your ear. 2 marks. 2 marks. Dilys, singular to gasp for breath, and plural nether garments.
Oh, really?
No, not really.
Pants and pants.
Well done. Denis, singular, it means to vociferate, and plural, hand-operated air pump.
Bellow. Did you hear? Did I act that well enough, or did you actually hear Antonia say that dawning surprise on
I heard...
Bellow and bellows.
Yes, yes. 2 marks for Denis. Well done. And now we come to Frank and Denis's quotations. And Frank's is, here today, gone tomorrow.
No, it was just a little thing that happened a few days ago, and I'd like to tell you about it because it's rather cautionary, if you're in the same predicament. Only it was this mark on my wife's foot. You see, I was staring at my wife's foot, more or less at face level, because I'd written a letter to my auntie, and I put the stamp on upside down. And when I was at school, my best friend Harry Tremaine
so that if you put the stamp on upside down, it's an insult to the Queen, and they take you to the Tower and cut your ear off. And Harry Tremaine was much bigger than me, and used to beat me on the back of the head. His desk was behind me with an ebony ruler. And I believed him because he also had a complete cigarette card set of the Kent cricket team. Actually, 2 of them were named Fag, and I called them Fag cards. And it was my first joke. And he hit me on the back of the head again with the ebony ruler. Well, anyway, I'd steamed the stamp off because it was upside down, and tried to stick it back on again, but it wouldn't stick. And it obviously needed pressing. So I put it on top of the filing cabinet and persuaded my wife to take her left shoe and stocking off. And then I managed to wedge her foot up on top of the filing cabinet so that the heel pressed on the stamp. And there was a spring-like action, you see. And then suddenly I said, by God, there's an ER on your toe. And that's an endermic redness. It's a chiropodist's term. It means a redness coming through the skin. And it means there's going to be trouble. Action has got to be taken immediately. What you need is one of those little round, felt white things. Like a sort of tiny, 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 tiny white, soft Colosseum. Or a sort of much smaller, soft lifebelt made of felt. And you buy them on a card. So I said, don't move. And I gave her a book to read. And went out to the bicycle. But the bicycle had a puncture. And I was mending it. And I was massaging that tube, to get it open. And suddenly it occurred to me that it was 9 o'clock in the evening. And all the chemist shops where you buy these round things to comfort you when you've got ER, this endermic redness, would be shut. What was I going to do? And I was fiddling with this tube, and suddenly the solution hit me right between the eyes. What I should do was find something which is soft and round and got a hole in it, which is like it. Tap washer. Mended the puncture, rode to Weybridge, saw our old friend Tom Osborne. I said, Tom, Polly has got ER. He's not on the foot. And I said, yes, red and glowing. Tomorrow, he said, tomorrow she'll be in pain. I said, not tap washer. Right. He's getting on a bit, actually, but both of us managed to get the Stilson wrench on the kitchen tap. And there was a tremendous whoosh, and lots of water everywhere, and we couldn't find the washer. And we managed to staunch the flow of water by ripping down the dining room curtains and stuffing them down the pipe with the aid of his walking stick, and a mallet. And then I rode rather disconsolately back to my poor wife. And on the way, I had to repump up the tower in Chertsey, and I found myself up against a thing called a kebab house. And I thought it was a sort of religious meeting place. Either that or a shelter for tramps, like Rowton House or something. But no, not at all. It's a restaurant. And I looked through the window, because there's quite a lot of noise there, and there were things going round, little bits, round bits of lamb on skewers with holes. I rushed in. And I tried to buy one. I had great difficulty, because I didn't want to buy the whole skewer full. I just wanted one. And I had great difficulty in making him understand that I wanted one from the middle, because they're all hard at the edge and black. And I eventually bought the middle one, rushed it home to my good lady, who had a foot up on the top of the filing cabinet, pressing the stamp. And with the last of the rubber solution, I stuck it on the EF, on her endermic redness. And I said, there you are, put your sock back on and all will be right now. The pressure will be relieved. Just remember that. You must not neglect endermic redness when it comes up. Remember the old saying, ER today, corn tomorrow.
Denis, try your hand at there's a sucker born every minute.
Like I said to Al, the night guy at the morgue, I should have known she'd spelled trouble the moment she walked into my office, but it was a Monday morning. I had one of those hangovers where if you blink your eyes,
It makes your kneecaps wobble. So I didn't even hear the door open. But when I spun my swivel chair round, there she was, Velma, dressed in one of those gowns where if she leaned forward, it didn't make any difference. And we stared at each other in a silence that was only broken when I realized I was pouring Tipex into my coffee. "Take a seat, lady," I said. "What's your problem?" "My husband," she said, then with a sob, "last night, someone put a bullet in his head." Thoughtfully, I picked my teeth with the letter opener, not even noticing it was one of those electric ones. "You mean," I said, "you mean they shot him?" "Oh, heavens, no," she said. No. They put a bullet in his head. When he woke up this morning, he found that while he was asleep, someone had come in and pushed a .22 cartridge up his nose." Then that carefully maintained composure deserted her. I'm scared," she said, getting up from the chair. As she came towards me, I couldn't help noticing she seemed to have more moving parts than most people. "Will you help me?" she implored. I don't know how I'll pay you, but..." Then suddenly, unexpectedly, she was in my arms. "That will do nicely," I said. But I was uneasy. There was only one outfit that went around placing things up people's noses, the mob. That's why they become known as Cosa Nostril. That bullet was obviously to warn her husband he'd found out something they didn't want him to know. But what? Telling Velma I'd be in touch, I went round to see Clive Edgington Fluff, an old friend of mine at the CID. He was pretty cagey at first. They always are at the Council of Industrial Design. But finally, he handed me a packet of book matches, which they'd found beside the bed of someone else who'd woken up with a cartridge case up the hooter. It came from a sleazy nightclub called, because it was situated right on the bank of the Thames, Swirling Eddies. I jumped into my auto. At the time, I was driving a souped-up Fiat Accompli, and the first person I ran into at the club was Eyeball Louis. Now, he was a struck-off optician who I'd often used in the past for underworld contacts. And it was from him I got the full story. What Velma's husband had stumbled onto was the mob's ingenious new way of smuggling dope into the heart of London. They had a fleet of 473 silent helicopters, which took turns making nightly trips to Trafalgar Square, where they'd hover above Nelson's Column. Then, in the darkness, one of the helicopter crew would clamber down a rope carrying a small sack of cocaine, which he'd secrete in a part of Nelson unlikely to be inspected by Japanese tourists. And the next day, the sack would be picked up by another member of the mob, a bent Ministry of Works inspector. Velma's husband had stumbled on the plot when, happening to glance up, he noticed that the statue seemed even more stoned than usual. When I learnt that, the last piece of the jigsaw fell into place. Of course, as I told Edgington Fluff, the nostril clue should have put me onto it straight away, because that, of course, was the section of the Admiral in which the sacks were secreted. Mind you, that still wouldn't have given us any idea of the magnitude of the smuggling operation, because with 473 helicopters at their command, that mob really could boast that, in old Barnum's phrase, there's a sack airborne every minute.
Delightful, Dennis. Though I find it difficult to forgive you, Swirling Eddies. Anyway, I'm delighted to announce that the result of today's contest is a tie. So we'll send both teams off on a lap of honour. Meanwhile, until we four gather again, or even until we five gather again, goodbye.
In My Word, Michael O'Donnell was in the chair. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced for the BBC by Tony Shrine and Pete Atkin.